So now, last but not least, Ecclesiastics 3 goes on to say that everything in this world happens at the time God has chosen. He set the time for birth, He set the time for death, the time for planting, the time for pulling, the time for killing, the time for healing, the time for tearing down, and the time for building. He sets the time for sorrow, the time for joy, the time for mourning, the time for dancing, the time for making love, the time for not making love, the time for kissing, the time for not kissing. He sets the time for finding the time of, or he sets the time for finding, the time for losing, and the time for losing. Kala, I don't even know what that was. He sets the time for finding and the time for losing, the time for saving and the time for throwing away, the time for tearing and the time for mending, the time for silence and the time for talking. Okay, that's what I need to work on. I talk a lot. He sets the time for love and the time for hate. The time for hate as well. A time for war and a time for peace. What do we gain from all our work? I know that the heavy burden that God has laid on us, He has set the time, the right time for everything. He has given us a desire to know the future, but never gives us the satisfaction of fully understanding what He does. And that's what's good. Because if He's giving us that, with the amount of, because the way we like to take Satan's bait of greed, stinginess, this, that, we will not make it. So that's why God made sure that above all, He doesn't give us the understanding of His power. Yeah, so He knows that every burden that God has laid on us, He has set the time for everything. He has given us the desire to know the future, but never gives us the satisfaction of fully understanding what He does. Do you understand that? What He does, you can never understand, but you can understand. You can see, you can sort of like liaise with showing you the future, but you can never understand what is His purpose. That's why they say. That's why I say to you, seek Him and let His word be the one that has the last, and you shall see life peacefully, in abundantly. So I realized that all we can do is to be happy and do the best we can while we still alive. All of us eat, drink, enjoy what we have worked for. It is God's gift. I know that everything that God does forever was God's will. Forever, you can add anything to it. Yeah, you can't add anything to it or take anything from it. And one thing God does is to make us standing aware of Him. What happens has already happened before. God makes the things happen again.